Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we've got some pretty cool news. This is something that broke really a couple of days ago at this point, but it is still something I want to cover because I've been a huge fan so far of what Ryan Reynolds has been able to do as the character of Deadpool, and it turns out that there will indeed be a Deadpool 3, and the report is that it will be rated R and also exist officially within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all of which I think is pretty exciting, and it's probably the only thing I'm really excited about when it comes to the MCU going forward. But before diving further into the story and how this potentially has a pretty, I guess, a little hope going towards the future of the Blade franchise also remaining rated R, please be sure to smash the like button, smash the rumble button if you're watching over there, and check out the links in the description of the video to find out ways you can follow me and support the channel. There are now crypto options if you want to support me via cryptocurrency, and also please be sure to check out my Minds account. Yes, indeed, Minds is a new alt tech website. It is a great alternative to Twitter. Obviously, a lot of people I know have been trying to switch over to Parler, but Parler has been shut down because of Amazon Web Services and because of violations of freedom of speech and also some really weird collusion stuff going on. So if you want to find a viable alternative that is stable and is not shut down nearly as quickly or as much as Gab is with all the crazy, insane traffic going towards Gab, you can follow me over on Minds.com. It is where all the cool kids are going, and there is a referral link in the description of the video if you want to sign up. Use that link, and it'll let me get a little bit of cryptocurrency on the side as well, so you can support the channel in that way also. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this news from Screen Rant. As it says here, Screen Rant is mentioning that Deadpool 3 will indeed be rated R, or at least is being reported as being rated R, and they are saying in their opinion that this means that MCU's Blade should also be rated R as well, and I would completely agree. To have a movie about the character of Blade without it being rated R for just violence alone would make it not really Blade at that point. And I know that there's been mixed thoughts and mixed reviews about whether or not the person that's going to be starring as Blade, Mahershala Ali, I'm sure I butchered that first name, but I'm trying to do the best I can with it, that he might not be a good Blade or he might be a great Blade. I personally think he's an incredibly talented actor. I've loved to see what he has done so far in the films he has been in. He had a role in Alita Battle Angel, which I thought he did very well with. He was in a film that got a lot of Oscar attention, which was Green Book, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed as well, though I feel like there's been a lot of more progressive-minded people that have hated the movie because of the relations of between different races within that film specifically. But I think that he's a very talented actor, and I think that if especially they're able to keep it in that rated R direction, that Blade could actually be a really cool addition to the franchise and also a cool addition to the MCU as well. All right, so go ahead and dive into the article itself. It says here that Marvel has indeed confirmed that Deadpool 3 will be an R-rated MCU movie, and Blade should be as well. Marvel Studios have developed something of a reputation for a distinct house style, one that means their films tend to be four-quadrant tentpoles given a PG-13 rating. The last few years have seen an increased demand for more diversity superhero movies and shows, however, with success stories on the big and small screens, including the likes of Logan, Joker, The Boys, and The Umbrella Academy. Marvel seem to have been reluctant to meet that demand, with public disagreement over whether Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness would be the MCU's first horror movie. That particular internal debate seems to have ultimately led to Scott Derrickson leaving the Doctor Strange sequel, ultimately replaced by Sam Raimi. So that's actually an interesting point to be made there, because I think it is something that Marvel, and therefore by extension Disney, really needs to start to look into, because if they continue on this track, as it says, of this four-quadrant PG-13 type film, all they're doing is continuing to put themselves into this very tight box, of which is getting really old and boring. There's a reason why a lot of people after Endgame have said, okay, this has gotten me to the culmination. I did not think Endgame was that great of a film. There's a lot of problems with it. There's obviously clear agenda items in the movie too, but hey, at least my characters, my favorite characters that I've been following for many years now in the movies specifically, have gotten their arcs completed, and now I can just leave everything behind. The only way they're going to get people back into this universe and get people even excited for this universe is if they can start to introduce more exciting concepts, like having Doctor Strange be a horror film set within the Marvel Universe, or having Deadpool in the official MCU being a rated R film as well, with lots of violence. Now, obviously, they're not set to make as much money as they might make with a PG-13 film, but I think that this is actually a perfect time for them to really read the room. If they honestly want to do very well in this current culture that we're in, with coronavirus, with theaters being shut down, with the likelihood of theaters coming back being exceptionally low, if they're going to want to be able to come back from that, they're going to kind of need to start innovating. And one of the best ways that they can innovate is by going in different directions with their films. For instance, it seems that Sam Raimi, especially being brought on for Multiverse, seems to be more indicative that it might go more so in the horror route, as Sam Raimi has done and has played within the horror genre before. That change alone could be incredibly interesting and could bring more, and not just more people back to the universe, but also bring in new people as well. Because typically when you talk about horror films, people who are fans of horror films have had no reason so far to want to delve into the MCU if that is not a cross-genre of something that they're actually also interested in. This could bridge that gap, bring in MCU fans, bring in Marvel fans, comic fans, and also horror fans, and be able to do so with a really talented director in Sam Raimi. Now, I have a huge amount of doubt when it comes to the future of the MCU, only because it is still being run by the likes of Kevin Feige, and I think that Kevin Feige has done a couple of really cool things. I think he's been mostly mainstream with a lot of his projects, and it's kind of led to this blandness that has really pervaded the MCU entirely. So I think that he's done a lot of, obviously made a lot of money for Disney, made a lot of money in these movies, but I think he's also led to this creative stall that's happened as well. So since he's still behind it, since he's still the main producer behind these projects, I still have my doubts about whether or not they're going to be able to pull it off. But I think having someone like Sam Raimi being brought in, now of course announcing Deadpool 3 to be rated R, and the prospect of Blade indeed also, because I believe Blade's going to be actually a Disney Plus series, though that's the big question, is will they be willing to have a rated R or mature level series on their Disney Plus platform, or are they going to do what many have speculated and make different tiers of Disney Plus, where essentially you have to be a certain age to access certain content, like, for instance, more aggressive PG-13 or even rated R content for violence and things like that. All right, let's go ahead and continue on. It says, but now Marvel has confirmed Deadpool 3 will be a rated R movie set within the MCU. The decision makes sense given the popularity of Fox's Deadpool franchise. Marvel is clearly ascribing to the doctrine of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But this news subtly changes the shape of the MCU because it means the shared cinematic universe will include content that deviates from the house style. It's naturally leading to intense discussion over whether or not other Marvel movies will be similarly rated R. And I think, again, going into that universe to be built by Blade, that would actually be a great property to continue on and to bring about a more mature level content. Many people were worried, and I think rightfully so, when they had the Deadpool, or the Once Upon a Deadpool movie that came out. And essentially, it was the PG-13 version of Deadpool 2 with a couple of extra scenes and sequences, but really not all that different, except cutting out a lot of the content that made the movie rated R. And many people said they enjoyed the additions, but when it came to the things that took out of the movie, it kind of took away from the bite of the Deadpool character. There's a reason why Deadpool was an incredibly successful, both the first and second, were both incredibly successful movies, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was not restricted because of a PG-13 rating and was allowed to be rated R. Many people saw that as not just an opportunity for them to make more money off of the property, but also to test the waters of whether Deadpool could do well in a PG-13 universe. It seems that based on the numbers and based on what they saw, they've seen that, oh no, we can't do that. This will not be a huge success if we try and make Deadpool into PG-13. Obviously, I would not be surprised if Ryan Reynolds, as powerful as he really is becoming in Hollywood, was really pushing, saying, no, you cannot just cut the legs out of this property if you want this property to continue. And I would not be surprised if he said, if you want me to stay on as Deadpool, you better keep on going in this direction. I imagine that all of these different things together probably led to this happening. Not to mention, I think them looking, as the article mentioned before, at films like Logan or like a Joker, and seeing that those films could easily be incredibly profitable. In the case of Joker, right, in the case of, you know, even the first and second Deadpool, right, properties that were able to get close to and even pass in some cases $1 billion at the box office is something that they really need to look into. Because as I mentioned, the PG-13 tentpole movies, I don't think are going to do as well, because the audiences that you're going for there are going to be ones that would rather and be more apt to say, okay, well, I can stay home and I can wait, or I'm just going to watch things on Netflix or on Disney Plus, and I'll just wait for these things to come out and be available when they're available. Whereas if you have a film that that goes more in the genre direction, like a horror film in the upcoming Doctor Strange film, which looks likely the case, or in the case of a R-rated comedy, like in the case of a Deadpool 3, that is going to be more likely to bring in adults who are more likely to go out, more likely to engage with the material in a movie theater, and more likely to be brought back into that, since many of those people have lived long lives going to movies and being used to going to midnight premieres and things like that. It'll be easier, essentially, what I'm trying to say, it's easier to get those adults, right, who are going to be more likely to watch those movies back into theaters than younger people who have now been trained and have now grown up with Netflix their entire life and have grown up with streaming that have now been kind of trained to stay at home during the pandemic. It's going to be a lot easier for them to get the adults back who have done this for a long time going to theaters versus the younger people, the teens and 20-somethings who at this point have not really had that to this point. So I think that's an interesting concept, and I really hope that they're able to continue on in this process as well. It says, one of the most interesting future projects is Blade. Marvel delighted fans at the San Diego Comic-Con panel of 2019 when they revealed Mahershala Ali has been cast as MCU's Blade. And if Deadpool 3 is an R-rated MCU movie, then frankly, Blade should be as well. And then this goes into the history of the Blade franchise being historically R and why that just makes a lot of sense. And it says here, also making a good point, saying supporting the theory is that Marvel has actually has a mystery October 2022 release that could well be Blade. The MCU's Phase 4 slate has been in a state of significant flux, largely as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. And so, and this is interesting because I actually thought that they were going to be doing a series based on this. I think a lot of people thought this, but yeah, maybe this kind of mystery film might actually be Blade. It makes a lot of sense for a film, especially about basically a hero vampire. That would be perfect for that October marketplace, and not just only for it to be a rated R film that more adults would be inclined to go to, but also it would be a perfect film to come out during that time of the year where more people are like, ooh, I want to go see a movie that's going to be more like this October atmosphere that we're feeling right now, and Blade could absolutely fill in those gaps. So, what does this all mean? Yeah, it seems to be a pretty good indication that the future of the MCU might actually be brighter than initially thought. Now, obviously, I still have my issues and I still have my problems, especially when it comes to their more mainstream movies, but I'm not going to lie. I'm excited for a Deadpool 3. It's still going to have Ryan Reynolds, and the legs are not going to be cut out of it because it's going to be allowed to be rated R. When it comes to MCU's Blade, now it looks like that has a much better chance of being rated R as well, if indeed all of the indications that it will be indeed go forward. It's also exciting to know that when it comes to Doctor Strange, that it might actually be more of a horror movie, and that might be actually a different genre and tell the story from a different direction to kind of, bring some more variety to the stories. It'd be really cool if we could finally in the MCU have more of almost like a Fox universe, right? Fox was able to do this to some extent, with some success and some failure, but kind of playing around with different genres in the process. It'd be so awesome if we could get several different films like Logan, for instance, more serious, more kind of having that grunge style to it almost like this dirty style. And I think it'd be a way of bringing in new audiences, but also keeping those audiences, especially the more adult audiences that will kind of appreciate that more realistic style and that more realistic approach a lot more. They could do that really well with Deadpool 3, especially if they, again, let the people involved have fun and do all the things that have worked previously, while at the same time working with these new genres. And again, having even Blade be a rated R horror film, I think that could work really well, especially if they're going to tie it into the broader MCU, because you can make a lot of really great jokes in the process once you bring in those rated R characters into a PG-13 team-up movie, and I think it could be hilarious. We've already seen what Ryan Reynolds has especially been able to do as Deadpool, breaking the fourth wall constantly. And imagine if you have now the rated R version of Deadpool going into a PG-13 film, going even into one of the Spider-Man movies, and just causing chaos and doing a lot of fun stuff, kind of mocking the fact that it's PG-13. That could actually be really funny and can work really well. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Are you excited about Deadpool 3 being announced and being officially slated to be a rated R movie? And do you think that Blade will and should also fit into this category as well? And what are your thoughts about the future of that franchise? And hey, we could potentially see it as early as 2022. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash the like button, smash the rumble button if you're watching over there. I will also be uploading these and backing them up over on Minds. I'm not going to upload the OMB reviews videos onto Mind Plus anymore. I'm going to have that be exclusive to the OMB report. So these will just be uploaded as regular videos that everyone can watch on Minds as the regular minds. And so if you want to follow me over there, if you're tired of watching videos on YouTube, if you want an alternate platform to both watch the content here and follow the conversation and engage, go check out my Minds account. Again, check out the referral link in the description below. I also have a link to where you can follow me on the platform as well. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my January 2021 Patreon and Subscribestar members: Albertus Magnus, Ali C83, Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jay, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his beautiful twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, On to June, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And also a huge shout out to my Subscribestar peeps: Stan 4, John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. You guys are all freaking amazing. Thank you so very much for being supporters. If you want your name shouted out, please consider joining on Patreon, where for $1 a month, you can get your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream. For $5 a month, you get access to that, and also you get access to exclusive giveaways, where I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, digital codes, etc. $10 a month will get you all that, plus also access to a special podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. Lots of fun. We do Q&As from that as well, so you get access to asking those Q&As, asking us any wide variety of questions. And for $25 a month, you get all of that stuff, plus you get to be featured once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream. And also for that first month, you get a free t-shirt shipped anywhere throughout the world. So if you want to consider any of those things, please check out the links in the description below, where you can find my Subscribestar and Patreon, and also other ways to support the channel. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.